me tell you how it will be.
Welcome back to The Price of Business. I am your host, Kevin Price, talking to you about you and your business. Delighted, as always, Bob Loeser in the house. Having fun. Talk about what's happening out there in the political front, the first segment. But there's a lot of stuff going on in the tax front that you need to be aware of as well. Bob, how are you, sir?
I am doing fine. And yourself?
Good, good. How are your clients doing when it comes to what's happening in the tax realm?
I think, overall, we just passed this week the last federal corporate deadline, September 15th. Those related Texas franchise tax returns are now due by the 15th of November. And I say get them in earlier than later, particularly if you have money due, because the interest and penalty meters are running. Personal returns last go-around are due by October 15th, and several people that have been waiting for partnership K-1s are now available so that we can start preparing the last, we probably have 85 or 90 tax returns to complete. I think as a whole this year, people are sort of close to the vest. And, they're checking the change in their pocket, so to speak, to make sure that it's still there and they don't have a hole in the bottom of that pocket. But I think it's conservative in nature. You'll ask them how they're doing, they'll say fine, and when you look at their numbers, they may be as good, if not a little bit better than last year, but to them it's fine, it's okay. Mm-hmm. And that's all right with an environment. You don't need to go out there bragging, so to speak, that I'm making more money, because the government and the unentitled, will be taxed by the entitled as a result of it. So why dangle the carrot out in front of people? Hey, I'm doing okay. Everything's all right. People are making sure that if they're increasing their business, they're doing it wisely. Whether it's purchasing new warehouses, purchasing new equipment, adding new employees, and I think it's slow but steady. The hare is going to win the race. Yeah, but it's going to take a little bit longer than maybe it has over the past couple of years.
Talk a little bit about, you talked about September 15th, the most recent deadline. Which ones are coming around the corner? I think October 15th.
Correct. October 15th is the personal tax deadline in 30 days. And again, we've got about 85 returns personal returns that need preparing. And most of them are the heavier duty ones, the ones that have several real estate partnerships or whatnot. And a lot of preparers out there, for whatever reason, got either a late start or, I won't say intentionally delayed, but delayed it to just finishing up over the last few days, where we do a lot of our corporate and partnerships and trusts in February, March, and April, only to with the knowledge that as soon as we can turn those around, we can turn the personal around and invoice for them. Mm-hmm. So it's a steady flow. A lot of preparers will wait for whatever reason. We've got one that K1 for the partnership came in on Monday afternoon, which means we could have gotten the personal return done by Tuesday the 15th of September, a month early, but our response is, why worry about it? Since we've got a month, let's prepare the return over the next few days and get it done by the end of the week. Yeah,
right. So what other deadlines?
That's really it this time of year now. All the federals, non-personal are done with as of September 15th. The personals on October 15th, the franchise on November 15th, and then you're talking about sitting down and doing tax planning with clientele and looking at their tax situations, their retirement plans, decisions on, do we double up on our property taxes this year, or do we defer them until next year? Do we make an extra payment with a mortgage company? Those types of decisions to either assist in reducing the tax this year, or making sure that if we don't reduce them this year, we reduce them by starting our planning for next year.
Mm-hmm. So what ultimately happened with the Texas franchise tax? It looks like from news stories I see, it's still kind of cloudy of exactly what happened.
It's still at the whatever it is, $1.05 million in gross revenues. So if you've got a business that you're running and you're under $1 million, yes, you have to file the franchise, but no, there is no franchise tax. Above that, there are really two or three types or ways to calculate it. One is, if you're a manufacturing business, it's use of gross profit, less certain deductions. Gross profit means you sell something, that widget costs you $1, you sold it for $2, that nets you $1, so your gross profit is 50%.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and that 50% of gross sales is then the number that you use less some deductions like salaries and things of that nature to get you to a bottom line. And that's used, again, only if your sales are over the $1,050,000 that you have.
Yeah, yeah. It's interesting. I'm expecting to hear more about this because, I know that the governor's objective was to raise it to $4 million, which to me makes so much sense.
Right. Or the other way of going about it is just making it it used to be a minimum. It used to be $35 for everybody that had an entity in the state of Texas. Is it really that bad? I wouldn't mind paying $35 if it precluded me in a year that I went over $1 million from me paying $4,000.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So if everybody paid $35, wouldn't you get more numbers than what you're doing now with just sales over $1,050,000, or if it goes to $4 million or whatever?
Yeah, I think that would certainly be cleaner, wouldn't it?
Yes.
And so there's certainly be said something for certainly something to be said for that. Talk a little bit about when do clients and potential clients come to you and say, hey, we need to evaluate how we do things for 2016, the next year. What time of the year do they begin to think about review going forward? It's
probably as you start getting into October and more heavily into early November. But we're doing a lot of work with a former contributor here, Jeff Green.
Mm-hmm.
And Jeff's firm and our firm are doing mutual seminars for retirees of BP, Shell, ExxonMobil, and we will sit down with them and give them an evaluation of if they were to take a portion of their golden parachute or take a portion and sell their options inside the framework of their retirement plan, what tax effect will take place in both 15 and 16.
Mm-hmm.
And we've actually done for one client who's retired from here, moved to Colorado, we've done like 6 or 7 scenarios for him already. So he knows where he's going to be not only this year, but next year, unless he makes changes in his itinerary as to what he wants to cash in on.
Yeah, I was just reading at the Corpus Christi Caller-Times, the newspaper there. They were saying that there was no change, it appears, in the threshold of the franchise tax, but there was a reduction in what the actual amount is.
Okay.
Like 25% reduction. So that's progress. But, man, you and I talked about this before. To me, it's a deterrent from moving up into becoming, a mid-sized business if you got this huge anvil hanging over your head. If you just make it to $1 million, which honestly, in cash flow, that's nothing for a small business.
And I know people out there that have set up businesses that, as they approach that $1 million, set up a second business or a second location where it's really the same business.
Shell game.
But in setting up separate, now you got $1 million for entity 1, $1 million for entity 2, etc. And the response is, I have to do it. Why should I pay? Why should I, if I go $1 over $1 million or $1,050,000, as we said? Why all of a sudden that yesterday I paid $0 in tax and this year I pay $4,200 in tax? Why should $1 difference make $42 difference out of my pocket?
That's exactly right. Yeah, Thomas Sowell put it best when he said that people are not logs. People, we have fight or flight,
right?
And so when the government does things to us, our entrepreneurial nature is to do something to respond to that. That's just what human nature is. And so no one's just that altruistic. If they want to give that much money, they'll give it to a nonprofit with their 2 separate entities that combined make them less than $1 million.
Correct.
Or separately are less than $1 million. So great stuff. Glad, as always, to be able to spend extra time with you. And lots of good stuff in terms of information. Always an excellent resource. When you come back in next month, what kind of things will we be focusing on? We'll be looking at some end of year stuff.
Well, we'll probably, again, be getting into not only what's there, but we're going to see if Congress has any proposals for changes in the tax law, whether it's reduction of deductions or, again, giving the special groups more tax breaks, the entitled that are out there. Who knows? We'll see. And the other issues, of course, are going to be if there is a further change in franchise tax, and what the economy holds.
Often every year, January 1 brings instant changes unless Congress takes action.
Correct.
Anything ominous that comes to your mind?
Not that I'm at least recalling that there's nothing out there that said, "Oh my gosh, we're going to lose that deduction if we don't do something." Before.
We've had those years, though, haven't we?
Yeah, we've had.
And then
that.
at about midnight on December 30th or whatever, they come up with something.
The falling off the cliff, or again the budget, and
you think they'd want to enjoy the holidays instead, but hey, whatever.
They enjoy 364 days of the year. Why should they?
Yeah, crazy stuff.
It's party time. We live in Washington.
That's right. Bob Loeser, Taxman Bob at pdq.net. Your number?
713-953-1272.
One more time.
713-953-1272.
Thanks for the extra time.
Good seeing you again.
Good to see you, too. When we come back, much more for you. Do you want to remind you, best content here shows up over there at usdatareview.com, and this is The Price of Business.
There's one for you.